the meeting to order. First order of business, roll call.
Kenny Bacon,
Here.
Dave Hontoon,
Here.
Jim Miller,
Here.
Thomas Silvera,
Here.
Thomas Heaney, here.
Second order is adoption of the minutes. Can I have a motion to accept the draft of the minutes that's in your packet?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Silvera. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, two sets of minutes you have for January 28th and the January 14th meeting.
Okay, we'll do the 28th first and then the 14th second. Do I have a second? Mr. Bacon?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes for the 28th are approved. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the January 14th meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Huntoon, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next order of business is, we'll read through the calendar and discuss whether we're going to move forward with the cases. Mr. Heaney, can you read the first case? Just the name. And the-
Petition of Atlantic Beach Suites LLC, 42 through 44 and 56 Wave Ave.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, David Martland. I would request a one-month continuance relative to that. We're having some difficulty obtaining all the information necessary. We've reached out to the city of Newport to obtain information, as well as to the town public works to verify some drainage issues associated with a 100-year storm event, because it might affect lot coverage issues on the property. So it's been taking a bit of time, but I would hope that we'd be able to finalize that within the next month.
So you want to continue that till the March meeting?
You know what?
3/24?
I would, at this point, I would suggest we continue it to the April meeting.
Okay.
April 21st.
Okay, we're going to continue that.
Because I think it's going to need to be re-advertised. And that should give us enough time to re-advertise for April.
Okay. So we're going to continue to the 21st of April.
Thank you.
Petition of James L. Paradise, 170 Aquinic Avenue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's two petitions. They're currently before the planning board, development plan reviews, so recommend that they put that over to March 24th.
Okay.
Petition of MDR Enterprises LLC, 199 West Main Road.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I met with the applicant's attorney yesterday. They presented a new signage petition that conforms with the ordinance, so they've asked that this be allowed to be withdrawn without prejudice.
Do we need a vote for that, Mr.?
Please.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the withdrawal of that petition without prejudice?
I'll make the motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Tom Sawyer makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Andy Bacon, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Withdrawn without prejudice.
Petition of Jeff DeRoches, 104 Tuckerman Avenue.
You can read. Are you ready to go forward?
Yes, we are ready to proceed with that.
Okay, let's go continue then.
Petition of Boulevard Nurseries Incorporated, 5 East Main Road.
That's ready to proceed as well.
Okay.
Petition of Shore Drive LLC, 0 Shore Drive.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested a continuance to the April meeting on the 21st of April.
Okay. So we're going to continue that.
Petition of Jeff DeRoches, owner, for a variance from section 603, 701, 802B, and 803G to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a single-family dwelling with a front yard setback of 23 feet and 2 inches where 25 feet is required, a north side setback of 11 feet 1 inches, and a south side setback of 10 feet where 15 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 104 Tuckerman Avenue and further identified as Lot 139 on Tax Assessor's Plat 116 Northwest.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Martland on behalf of Jeffrey DeRoches, the owner and applicant. Before you this evening is a petition for variance for his property located at 104 Tuckerman Avenue. This is a single-family residence that Mr. DeRoches is looking to redevelop. It would remain single-family. The existing structure currently encroaches on the side yard setbacks and is otherwise conforming. Mr. DeRoches is looking to, again, redevelop and expand the property. He's and build essentially upon the same footprint, utilizing the existing foundation. So there's no increase in the side yard setbacks. So it would be going up on the existing foundation. So those encroachments into the side yard exist today, and they would remain. There is one expansion that does encroach into the front yard that doesn't exist as of today. If you'll notice in your packet, there are some pictures of the existing property, and there's a deck on the front of the property, and that deck is constructed at the front yard setback line of 25 feet. Mr. DeRoches is looking to expand it slightly when they do the rebuild so that the deck, instead of being 8 feet wide, is 10 feet to provide for just ease of movement when you put the furniture out there and able to move around and get around. So that is the only sort of minor increase in the variances being requested. I think it's a fairly straightforward and simple request, and routine given the existing foundation that they're looking to utilize. I have with me Mr. DeRoches, as well as Susan Horowitz, who's the designer. If the board would like to hear from Mrs. Horowitz as to the design, I could bring her up now.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony tonight will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Sue Horwitz, 36 Copper Beach Drive, Portsmouth.
Use the mic too.
Okay.
Ms. Horowitz, if you could just explain your role in this design
Okay.
and what's being proposed.
So I work for JPS Construction and Design. We're a design and build firm, and Mr. DeRoche came to us requesting us to redesign a house that meets his needs at this stage. Together with the construction side of our team, we came up with the decision that it would be most economical to keep the existing foundations. And so the plan is to demolish down to the first floor, the existing concrete slab, and build up from there. So as Mr. Martland said, the side yard setbacks remain the same. We had at one time tried, we'd added a swimming pool, which had pushed us over the lot coverage. And after our meeting and further review, we thought it would be more compatible with the neighborhood if we withdrew that. So we were able to keep our lot coverage under, as well as the height. We are not asking for any change, for any variance for height. We have, we're under the 35 feet.
So the only increase in the variance relief you're asking is for the front yard setback, 2 feet. That's the
Yeah.
only increase over what's there.
Yeah, and the main reason is because, you know, an 8-foot deck isn't very usable. So by 10 feet, we can put Mr. DeRoche can put a table out there and it becomes a more usable space.
Okay.
What is the difference in the height in the new structure and the existing?
Well, there's an additional story being constructed. So,
I saw that, I just want
Yeah,
to know what the
okay.
difference in height is.
I don't know exactly what the height is of the existing without the, I written down, but it is obviously going higher. But it's still 6 inches below the 35 feet.
It'll be 34.6.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I just was wondering what the difference was in
Yeah.
height.
Yeah, I'm not sure, sir,
Yeah,
sorry.
the plans indicate the existing structure is at 24.24 feet,
Okay.
and the proposed one's at 34.5, so 10 feet on,
Thank you.
really small print.
Yeah, very sweet.
the,
See it right there, thank you. I didn't see it.
now, we also did get an inquiry from the immediate abutter to the south, Philip Altman. And the plans were explained to him. He understands that it's going up an additional story, but maintaining the same side yard setback. So the Altmans didn't have any further concern or objection relative to that.
If I can add one other thing, if you look at the photos, we try to demonstrate how the neighboring properties on either side are actually further forward. So we won't be impacting on their view or anything because we're still further back than they are. And if you look at the site plan, that has the dimensions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? I think we're good.
I don't have anything further to add. I do have Mr. DeRoches here if the board has any questions for him. I'd be
Okay, let
happy
me
to bring
open
him
it up and see if anyone wants to comment, and then. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against the petition? Seeing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the petition.
Motion made by Mr. Silvera, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second by Mr. Hantoon. Discussion?
Mr. Kane, was this the only, there's the letter from Valerie Gelb, was this the only other input we received from anybody else?
That was
As far
the
as you're aware?
only letter that was submitted.
Okay,
Any comments on the petition?
okay. And it was fully advertised and as,
Yes.
in accordance with what they were
Yeah.
supposed to do in Firmus?
I'm just reviewing the abutters list right now.
Right, yeah, I didn't see her name on there, that's why I was wondering, I checked that and didn't see her name, I didn't know. I don't think her letter indicates where she is in relation to this.
Mrs. Galv is not an abutter
Okay,
to the property. She lives down on the end of Shore Drive.
okay.
In addition, I think the thing that she was objecting to based on her letter is that she thought that the setbacks on the sides would be expanded.
Right,
That's what her letter seems to indicate, and they're not. So I don't know that she has a real complaint.
Any other discussion?
Well, I'm going to vote in favor because I believe that the petitioner, we've seen so many of these come before the board, and the petitioner has kept it within the boundaries. He is expanding a little bit more to the front, but it's not an intrusive expansion. So it is an extra story, but evidently no one in the neighborhood was concerned about it because no one was here. So it's still within the height of the building lot, I mean, the limit that's allowed by the zoning. So I'm gonna vote for you.
Yeah, I too am going to support the petitioner. I appreciate the fact that they're under the lot coverage, because I think in that area in particular, we can't do a whole lot about the height because of the unique characteristics of the lot. They're long and narrow, and so the only place they can do is they either go out or up, and since they're constrained by the side yard setbacks, they're going up. So I too am going to support it. I think it's the least relief necessary for the property. Any other discussion?
And I agree, it's really due to the unique characteristic of the lot, and I want to support that also.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Yes?
Petition of Boulevard Nurseries Incorporated, owners by their attorney, David P. Martland Esquire, excuse me, for a special use permit from section 902 to permit 2 drive-through windows/lanes associated with a bank. Said real estate is located at 5 East Main Road and further identified as Lot 105 on Tax Assessor's Plat 107 Southeast.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Martland on behalf of Boulevard Nurseries and the Kempenaar family. The property is located at 5 East Main Road. That's the subject of this petition. And it's basically the property where the Rite Aid was located. As you might know, the Rite Aid had been acquired by, nationally by Walgreens, and this property's been closed. And so the Kempenaar family has been looking at how to best refit the building, looking for tenants. They retained the Peregrine group to help and assist in this process. I have Sam Bradner with me this evening. So what the Kempenaars are looking to do is to lease a portion of the building to a bank. And what the bank would want is the ability to have a drive-up lane, not actually for a teller window, but it's really for ATM service. In this zone, general business zone, there's a requirement to obtain a special use permit for any drive-through window or lane. I also have with me tonight Chris Duhamel from Dupreet Engineering, who put the site plan together, and so he can run through the changes, whatever minor changes that have been made to the site. I also have Dan Kirk, who is an architect assisting on the project, and if the board had any questions relative to any of those issues, he'd be here. But if I might call Chris Duhamel from Dupreet Engineering.
Okay.
You want to?
Come on over here. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony tonight be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Chris Duhamel, professional engineer and land surveyor with Dupreet Engineering, located at 90 Broadway in Newport, Rhode Island.
Have you appeared before us before?
I have.
Okay.
If I might ask that Mr. Duhamel be recognized as an expert in the field of professional engineering.
We will, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a, is this the right, it's not.
We can't use our fancy screens.
Dave.
Oh, behind you.
Thank you. Chris, if you could use this.
Sure. The subject parcel is located on the southeast corner of West Main Road and East Main Road. The parcel is currently developed. Dupreet Engineering has conducted a boundary survey, and a topographic survey of the parcel locating the existing uses on the site. There's a 2.1 acre site, in Assessors Plat 107 SE, Lot 105. There is frontage on East Main Road and Commercial Street. There's curb access or access to the property from East Main Road that has been previously approved by the DOT through their physical alteration permit review process. There is also access to Commercial Street. In the development of the Chipotle restaurant, there was concern about a cut-through of East Main Road to Commercial Street, and the site was designed to prohibit that cut-through. It's been successful up to this point. The redesign of the site, or the reuse of the site, is to continue the commercial retail use from a Rite Aid pharmacy to a bank. The bank was proposed less traffic than what would be considered for pharmacy use. But there is a requirement to have a drive-through for this particular branch. This would not be possible. The bank would not move in unless the drive-through were approved by the zoning board as a special use. So we looked at the design of the site, and by keeping the entrance off of East Main Road identical, we've designed for circulation through the site to have a queuing lane to the drive-through lane. The bank has asked for 2 lanes to be provided for the ATM machines. So we've allowed for the 2 queuing lanes of the ATM, and we've delineated 7 stacking cars for each lane that could be accommodated within this area for the bank. This requirement is to close a curb opening on Commercial Street and to move it in line with the parking aisle that exists through the center of the site. There won't be any change to the state right-of-way, the access onto the main East Main Road. So that the stacking lane allows for 14 cars, which is well in excess of what would be considered for a bank. A bank would be 4 or 5 cars. So this has 7 each, 2 lanes, 14 cars could be allowed. There's no.
And so you've got it designed in that fashion so it won't create any traffic congestion or block the entrances or exits. Is that correct?
Exactly. The main concern would be any cars stacking onto East Main Road or delayed on East Main Road and being able to turn on the site. We haven't changed any of that area. We've allowed for the free access onto the site to the other tenants. And any stacking would be reserved to the bank area. We've had this travel lane parking aisle will still remain open, be 24 foot in width, minimum width for a parking aisle. They don't have an outlet that discharges around the site, so there'll be free access around the site. There's 4 parking spots, or 6 parking spots rather, that will be removed. We exceed the amount of parking required by ordinance. There's 27,000 square foot of buildings that exist. The ordinance requires 2.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, so we have 69 required spaces, and there's 82 proposed spaces with this alteration. So we still adhere to the zoning requirements for parking.
Is there going to be any change in the signage for directional flow? 'Cause
Yes.
You've got people coming off East Main Road and going towards Commercial. Do they have to yield before they turn into the bank parking? Because I'm concerned about the new curb cut and folks coming off of Commercial into that limited or restricted space there.
Yes, there would be signage, speaking with Beta Engineering of a no outlet signing into the queuing area. There'd be signing of one-way or bank queuing area to exit to this aisle rather than to go to the westerly aisle and then turn around. But it's meant to have free access, 24-foot wide aisles throughout. So there's still parking allowed within this aisle adjacent to the drive-through lanes. But
And you're gonna add an island there and then actually 2 islands
yeah,
that don't
we're
currently
gonna
exist.
have this restrictive island here. There's an existing island here that would be reshaped to allow for the queuing lane and to define the drive-through aisle, the parking aisle. We'll create a new aisle, moving that forward to define the parking area. This aisle will remain unchanged. There's drainage within this island. None of the drainage will be impacted. And again, the only curb opening, there's like a double opening of 40 feet or so, where we're proposing this curbing aisle. We're going to close that off, and we're going to move to a 24-foot aisle of commercial lane.
What happens if it backs up though, beyond that right there, and then it's gonna close off the entrance to?
It would.
Commercial way.
You're absolutely right, but having 14 cars per bank, it's I don't know anyone who would wait that long for.
No, when Bank Newport came before us for the ATM machine that they put into the industrial park, I questioned them on what their stacking was at the bank directly across the street, and it was like 1 car every 12 minutes is like high peak time. So I went back and reviewed that for this case, Tom, so I don't think,
All right, I just asked the question.
my question is there gonna be any planting along Commercial, or is that looks like a very thin curb? I had a hard time envisioning how they were gonna do that. In other words, where they're closing off the curb cut, I think that's great, because that, right now, that, even though they redesigned the parking lot, that was still a big cut through. But what's gonna be there that's gonna delineate the curb? Is it just gonna be a curb?
That's what we had considered. Did not consider a landscape island there, but we could.
I don't, if it's not required by code, I was just curious of how they're gonna, we live in a time when people just cut. They're not even gonna know that it's not a curb. There's a curb there. I remember seeing down at the beach when people went straight across the new island down there. So I'm just curious if there's gonna be any signage along there to prevent people from driving up and over the curb.
We could certainly put a sign entrance 50 feet or 30 feet, so that there would be a height restriction to this, as well as this 6-inch curb restriction.
Does the client already have a tenant, or are we doing this on spec?
All I can indicate to you is that there is a tenant that is a national bank, and if this moves forward, then they would lease the space.
Okay, thank you.
There was one additional item that had come up during our preliminary application meetings. Chris, if you'll recall, the building official indicated that the island is the front, I guess the northerly side of the parking. Some folks have driven into that sunken island, and you were going to do something to
Well, we're not. There's a catch basin within that island that's why it's depressed. Potentially, we could raise it, I could look more at that, but I think more prominently would be to have a signage that says through traffic to the left, so that it would present a vertical visual so that people would not drive into that. We could certainly work on any detail to make certain it was acceptable to the town, but right now, that was the thought, to have a sign.
apparently some folks come in awfully fast off the road and, might be looking up and,
Serves the
it's-
purpose of stops.
it's a low island. So if there's a sign there, at least that would catch their attention.
And
So
it
the-
stops a cut through.
Right.
So the flow of traffic, if you're coming in off East Main, is going to be to bear left to the east as you come in the parking lot? Or you can still go either side of that first island, correct?
Exactly. This will be
Right.
accessible for parking in full 24-foot width or greater.
But there's not 24 feet between the end of the soon-to-be-created island and the island that's separating the cars from the, at least I can't see it on our,
Yeah,
that distance
it
isn't
just-
depicted. Does that little thing say 24 feet?
It does.
Okay, it says 24, okay. Yeah, that dimension's not shown on our plans, that's why I was asking. Okay, that's
No.
24, it's 24. 2 cars can fit through there, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna find out.
And the radius is designed so that a passenger car, emergency vehicle could go through.
And you mentioned earlier that when the parking lot was, or the parcel was first developed, there was concern about the cut-through traffic and the island and the traffic flow with the old one prevented that. All we're doing is moving it to the other side, so is the idea there that because you have that entrance island that apparently people do run into, it's doing a good job of slowing down traffic. But just relocating the entrance off of Commercial to the east, it'll serve the same purpose, so if anything, really, it should be less flow-through because of the island that you're putting up for the drive-through lanes, correct?
That's our intent. Yes.
Okay.
What are the 2 lines on the top of the drawing that go into the other parking lot there? What is that?
That's a crosswalk. It just printed a little bit. It's a painted crosswalk.
I didn't, there was no other exit, that's why I didn't know what it was, that's all.
Yeah, no,
It's a crosswalk.
there's handicap curb access on either side.
Okay. It looked a little funny, that's all.
It does. You're
So that's
right.
fine. No, I just wanted to know what it was.
Yeah, sort of prominent.
No, it's not a bridge.
So this is for 2 ATM machines, correct? Not the regular, put your thing in and it goes up. It's gonna be 2 ATMs, is that what it is?
That's correct.
Any other questions for the engineer?
Thank you.
I also have with me, to answer any questions you might have, I've got Herman Peralta, who's with Beta Engineering and is a traffic engineer. If you had any further questions relative to traffic, he's here to answer those questions. I didn't have anything formal.
I had one.
planned.
What's your opinion of making that new 24-foot cut one-way out only, and don't allow egress into the parking lot from Commercial Avenue?
If I could ask you to be sworn in.
Sure,
Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony tonight will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Herman Peralta, 701 George Washington Highway, Lincoln, Rhode Island.
I don't think has he ever appeared before us?
No. I've got a CV for Mr. Peralta, if I may approach.
He's appeared before the Conservation Committee, correct?
Yes, I have. I've actually been in front of you guys with the car wash off of West Main.
Okay.
Thought you looked,
Yeah, and also in front of the planning board.
yes.
Okay, we'll accept you as a expert witness. I'm going to mark this exhibit, okay?
So my question was about the new curb cut with the major flow of traffic coming off of East Main Road, and I guess that's south, it's going south. If we made that from a safety or traffic perspective, one way out to the south, don't allow traffic to go into the lot, from commercial. Does that help the traffic flow, or does it hurt the traffic flow in terms of safety, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it does hurt the traffic flow, because if you want to be able to come in on commercial street, you want to be able to get into on that driveway. Instead of having people go around, go on East Main Road and take a right from East Main Road, it'll...
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to get to if you don't have that on that
Yes.
side.
On top of that, a lot of the driveways off of Commercial Street are two-way, so to make that one-way, it would be kind of difficult.
Okay.
In your expert opinion, do you think there'll be a lot of traffic to the ATM machines?
No, the last 15 years, there's been a technological advance in the banking industry, so there's been a significant drop in traffic for banks. So I expect only like 3 to 4 maximum, worst case scenario on that driveway.
Right. Any other questions? Thank you.
And I would just also like to point out, I think by maintaining the both ingress and egress at this location, I think that's consistent with elements of the comprehensive plan that are looking for interconnectivity with adjacent parcels, so that, you know, the folks that are down in the Quiddick Shopping Center have that parcel, or coming off of High Street can enter through there. So I think that helps promote that type of connectivity. Years ago, as everyone remembers, we used to have the connection. Yeah, that's right. Ski slope down to.
Andy, you're telling me yourself.
I remember very well. Yes.
Okay.
I don't have anything further other than to think I think this proposal meets with the requirements for the granting of a special use permit.
Thank you, Mr. Martland.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against the petition? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to accept the petition?
A motion to accept.
Motion made by Mr. Hantoon. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second made by Mr. Heaney.
Silver.
Mr. Silva, sorry. Discussion?
Well, I'm gonna vote in favor. I believe that they've taken all the concerns out. They've changed the opening on it, and that probably will stop a lot of the cut-through traffic, which they've been trying to do. And since it's an ATM, I don't think it's any problem with the stacking of cars over that amount that they have in the thing. I just was wondering, I thought it was gonna be a drive-up window, and now that it's an ATM, I think that, I'm not saying that people don't use it, but I don't think that they would wait in line that long for it.
I'm also going to support it. I think the changes being made are an improvement. As was mentioned, the change in the design prior to this was to hopefully cut down on the cut-through traffic. I don't know that the existing traffic pattern right now has done that as well as we would like it to. I think this will have more of an impact on that and actually cut down on the cut-through traffic. So I think it's an improvement. It also, as stated, I think it's in keeping with the comprehensive community plan because of the allowing the flow from the different lots. And the safety concern that I had was explained by the traffic expert. So I'm going to support it.
Any other discussion? I also am going to support it. I think, I like the fact that the landlord's reducing the, it's going to actually become 3 units, which is going to increase, you know, commercial development. So I think it meets all 5 requirements of the special use permit. It's not going to be a safety issue. It's not going to reduce any of the values in the neighborhood. And I think, as my colleague said, it's going to reduce the traffic flow that's cutting through right now. So I too am going to support it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Last order of business, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the motion to
Do I have a second?
Good work.
I second.
Motion made, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
said, you worked hard tonight. You're a team person.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.